So, there's no money left here, right? We don't need to keep relationship with her anymore, do we? No, we don't. We don't even need our parents anymore. What? We mean we're cutting ties with you. There's no benefit in pleasing a penniless mother-in-law. Right. It'll be a hassle you beg us money or ask us to care for you when you have no money to give us. Better to cut ties now. I understand your point of view. So, your inheritance will be $60,000, right? And we're agreeing that this amount serves as a severance to end our parent-child relationship, correct? Yeah, that's fine. After my husband passed away, my son and his wife showed their true colors. They presented me with a declaration of estrangement as if to vent their frustration for their failed plans. $60,000 is a lot of money. But they'll regret having taken that money. 2 years after my husband's death, I was sitting on a park bench eating bread. My moment of peace was interrupted by a familiar voice. Hey, isn't that you? What? Look, she looks so worn out, feeding pigeons in the park. No, I'm not. Ha. True. We took all the money, so you must be homeless now. How's the homeless life? I was beyond anger and simply speechless. I sighed softly and resumed my lunch. Mom, why are you ignoring us? Oh right, we've cut ties, so I shouldn't call you oaf woman, huh? How about calling her homeless hag? Yeah, homeless hag works. My son and his wife kept mocking me, taking advantage of my silence. Having finished my bread, it was time to tell them the truth. You keep saying homeless, but who are you talking about? You, homeless hag. I'm not homeless. I live over there. What? I pointed to a building and explained the truth to my son and his wife. What? They are shocked by the truth. It was too late for them to regret anything. My name is Mary. I'm a 60-year-old housewife. My husband, Robert, is 67 and still working. He left his job about 20 years ago and started his own IT company. The company grew steadily, especially in the last 10 years with the success of a new business area, leading to rapid growth. It's quite large now. Though it's all Greek to me, my husband talks about data science and big data. He's retired as CEO due to his age but continues as chairman. However, he's thinking it's about time to step down from that role too. We have an only son, Eric. He didn't take over the company when Robert retired. He doesn't even help with Robert's business. I don't want to be seen as living off my father, I'll make my own way. After graduating, he joined a company unrelated to IT and left home. I had hoped he would take over Robert's business, so I was a bit disappointed. But, as a parent, I was also proud of his choice to be independent and smiled when I heard his decision. I won't force you. Do what you want. Robert seemed to share my sentiments, and he encouraged Eric to follow his own path, although he looked a bit disappointed. Things were fine until Eric got a job. He rarely contacted us and only came home for Christmas. Lately, he doesn't even come home for Christmas, just a phone call. Well, it's natural for men, and as long as he's doing well, that's fine. I keep telling myself that, but I still wish he'd contact us more. One day, out of the blue and well before Christmas, I got a call from him. It's unusual for you to call other than Christmas. I have something to tell you. I'm coming home soon. What's the news? I'm getting married, so I want to introduce her to you. Really? I was just happy to hear from him, but I was even more surprised by his marriage announcement and couldn't help but exclaim loudly. Startled by my sudden outburst, Robert, who was leisurely watching TV, turned towards me. I beamed a broad smile at him. He looked puzzled, not knowing about Eric's marriage yet. A month later, Eric was to bring his fiancée home. Eric will be bringing his bride-to-be soon. It's still 3 weeks away. 3 weeks will fly by. Since Eric's call, I've been telling Robert every day that Eric will be coming home soon. Robert looks fed up, but I can't help but excitedly tell him that Eric's visit is approaching for his marriage announcement. That's how much I can't wait for it. But this marriage announcement would bring me some worries. A month later, Eric and his fiancée Ashley came over to our house. We're home. Welcome. Come in. Dad is waiting in the living room. Thank you for having us. Ashley looked youthful with a charm more reminiscent of a girl next door than a high-fashion model. She seemed nervous, looking around curiously at the entrance. She continued to look around as I led them to the living room where Robert was waiting. Welcome. Please, have a seat. In the living room, Robert asked Eric and Ashley to sit opposite him. I sat next to Robert. Ashley was still looking around curiously. Feeling a bit embarrassed by her scrutinizing our house, I asked, "Is there something you're curious about?" "Oh, no, it's different from what I imagined." "What do you mean?" Eric said his father runs a big company. Hey, don't say such an embarrassing thing right off the bat. The words of Ashley and Eric's hurried attempt to cover up made Robert and me exchange glances and laugh. Did our house seem more ordinary than you expected? No, I didn't mean that. Don't worry. We're not much for material things. Even though he runs a big company, our house is of average size, and we don't deck ourselves out in brand names or eat lavish meals every day. I see. Sorry for saying something weird. I told you there's no need to be nervous, right? You see, my father isn't a very rigid person. Eric couldn't help but laugh as well. With Eric laughing, that made Ashley relax, and from then on, the conversation went smoothly. She looked young, but she was actually 27 years old and quite mature in conversation. I had been worried about Eric, who hadn't married even after turning 30, but I was relieved that he finally found someone good for him. 3 months later, they got married. I was already happy enough with this, but his marriage also brought some unexpected consequences. Hello, Mom. Everything okay over there? Yes, everything's fine. You and Dad are not young anymore, so please take care of yourselves. Every time you call, that's all you talk about, Eric. Since getting married, he began to call us at least once a month. Probably, Ashley must have learned that he rarely contacted us before and urged him to call regularly. Not used to contacting us, Eric always seemed unsure of what to talk about and would always inquire about our health. I wish he would talk more about his work or married life, but I always listened to him with a soft expression, happy to hear from him. For their first Christmas after getting married, Eric and Ashley visited us. I went all out and prepared a homemade Christmas dinner to treat them. However, Ashley seemed a bit dissatisfied. Ashley, is there anything you can't eat? No, it's not that. I'll eat, thank you. Ashley smiled and responded, but I didn't miss the fleeting shadow that crossed her face when she saw the Christmas dinner. She hardly touched the food. I wondered if there was something she couldn't eat. Worried that I had made Ashley uncomfortable, I kept glancing at her, becoming overly concerned about her reaction. So preoccupied with Ashley's reaction, I found myself talking less than usual, despite the lively conversation between Robert, Eric, and Ashley. Finally, as Eric and Ashley were about to leave, Eric whispered something to me so that the others couldn't hear. Mom, these traditional Christmas dinners aren't really the trend anymore. That's not true, is it? There's nothing old-fashioned about a traditional Christmas dinner, right? It's not about being old-fashioned, but the Christmas dinner you made was more conventional, right? Nowadays, people often go for more unique or gourmet-style Christmas meals. Ashley might have been hoping for something more contemporary or lavish. Really? I guess I'm out of touch with the latest trends in Christmas dinners. I'm sorry. I didn't think making a Christmas dinner was something to apologize for even though they had a trend. But I was worried too much about Ashley's impression. I found myself apologizing to Eric in a low voice. After the small Christmas dinner incident, the once-a-month calls dwindled to once every 2 or 3 months. I was downhearted, thinking I had upset Ashley with the dinner. Seeing my mood, Robert comforted me. Don't worry about the Christmas dinner. Ashley wouldn't be upset over that. Eric's probably just busy with work. Or maybe keeping up monthly calls was too much for him. After all, he didn't used to call at all. Even once every 3 months is good, right? His words cheered me up a bit. However, I still couldn't shake off a lingering negative feeling. It seemed like this negative emotion attracted more trouble. Half a year later, Robert fell ill. I guess I can't work anymore. This is a good opportunity to retire. He seemed happy to be free from work while lying in the hospital bed. But I knew him too well after over 30 years of marriage. He must have been frustrated to be forced into retirement by illness, not by choice. His attempt to hide his worries behind a smile pierced my heart. Naturally, we told Eric about Robert's illness. What? Dad's ill? I'll come to see him sometime. Eric's response over the phone was indifferent. Robert's condition worsened. Even though Eric and Ashley never visited. Eventually, the once every 3 months calls stopped, and they didn't even come home for Christmas anymore. Time passed, and 3 years later, Robert passed away. So, Dad's finally gone, huh? Well, he was over 70 and had a successful business, so I guess he was satisfied with his life? Even when I told Eric about Robert's passing over the phone, his reaction was indifferent. He did show up for the funeral but didn't help with anything. Once the formalities were over, Eric and Ashley hastily left. Remembering them laughing as they got into the car, my sadness over losing Robert was replaced by anger. But that anger was fleeting, and soon I was overwhelmed by grief again. There were so many things to handle, like paperwork and clearing out stuff, but I couldn't seem to make any progress. About a month after Robert passed away, I finally started to feel a bit better. It seems time does heal most wounds. However, just as I was regaining my strength, a new problem arose. One morning, while doing laundry, the doorbell rang. "Mom, open up." I checked the monitor and saw Eric and Ashley standing there. Feeling puzzled by their sudden visit when it wasn't even a holiday, I headed to the door. "This way to the room Dad used for work." "Just wait a minute." As I opened the door, Eric and Ashley barged in without a greeting and headed straight for the room Robert used for work. Left standing at the door, I hurried after them. "Where is it?" "It's probably in one of these drawers." The door to Robert's workroom was left open, and I could hear Eric and Ashley talking and rummaging through the drawers. "What are you two doing?" Eric and Ashley stopped and turned to look at me. I had an idea of what they might be up to, but I was praying I was wrong. "It's about time we discussed inheritance, right? So we came to collect what's ours." Robert ran a big company and hardly spent any money, so there must be a lot of money, right? It seems my prayers went unanswered. Eric and Ashley threw those words at me and went back to searching through the drawers. Watching them act like thieves, I lost the will to stop them. "Found it! Is this it?" "Yeah. What's inside?" Breathing heavily, Eric and Ashley began flipping through Robert's bank books. However, their faces fell as they looked at the balances. "What's this? There's hardly any money in here. Damn. I guess there wasn't as much money as I thought." It was clear they came looking for Robert's money. But I couldn't understand their conversation, and I just stood there, dazed and expressionless. "Mom, you've had an easy life, but in the end, you got the short end of the stick, huh?" Eric's voice snapped me back to reality. As I regained my focus, I saw Eric and Ashley looking at me with sly smiles. Still unable to comprehend the situation, I asked Eric, ready to be made a fool of. "What do you mean by got the short end of the stick?" "No need to play dumb. We know. Ashley said Robert's company was absorbed by another right when he got sick, right? That means it was running at a loss and had to join another company, right?" "What? What are you two talking about? A person with a nearly bankrupt company wouldn't have much money." Still, I thought there'd be something left since he was the head of a big company. There goes my plan. Yeah, what a letdown. Wait. What do you mean by all this? I couldn't make sense of Eric and Ashley's conversation and, frustrated, I raised my voice. But Eric and Ashley remained unfazed by my yelling, still sporting their villainous smirks. I didn't join Dad's company because it looked like hard work, dealing with all that complicated stuff. Why slog away there when I could just inherit a fortune from Dad in the future, right? I thought it was smarter to just take it easy with a less demanding job. But, things didn't go as planned. I even tried to stay on your good side at first, being all nice, making Eric call you, enduring that awful Christmas dinner. You stopped doing all that once it was clear Dad wasn't the strict type, right? When we found out Robert had given up the company, we resigned ourselves to a normal life, right? No more surefire rich future. I might have given up, but I was still hoping there'd be like $200,000 saved up. Look at this passbook. Only $60,000 in it. Does closing down a company require a lot of money? Well, we'll just gratefully take this $60,000 then. As Eric and Ashley rambled on, my anger was on the brink of exploding. But I clenched my teeth and forced back the words that were threatening to spill out. Ha! What's wrong, mother-in-law? Your face is all red. That's right, there's no more money in this house, right? No need to bother with you anymore, right? That makes sense. I don't need a parent who ruined my plans. What? We're cutting ties with you, mother-in-law. This house has no more money, right? No point in pleasing a penniless mother-in-law. We don't want to be hassled for money or told to take care of you without a penny to your name. Better to cut ties now. I get your point. So, your inheritance is that $60,000, and that's the severance to end our relationship as parents and child, right? Anything else in the house, I can take, right? Yeah, that's fine. I don't need this house anyway, and I don't want to be saddled with any debts. We're satisfied with the $60,000. Eric and Ashley left laughing, just like they did at Robert's funeral. I didn't want to give them even $60,000. $60,000 is a lot of money. But later, they would regret having taken that money. 2 years after Robert passed away, I had some errands in town. Moving around at my age, in my mid-60s, can be quite exhausting. Feeling tired, I decided to rest on a park bench. I eased onto the bench with an oof and took out a sandwich I had bought at the supermarket for a simple lunch. As I bit into my sandwich, pigeons began to gather around. Watching the pigeons gave me a sense of peace. Indeed, they are symbols of peace. However, that serene atmosphere was shattered by a familiar voice. "Isn't that you, Mary?" "What? Look at that." She looks so exhausted, feeding pigeons in the park. "No, I'm not feeding the pigeons." "Oh boy. That's true. As always, you don't seem to spend money on appearances." "Oh, maybe you don't have any money left since we took it all, so I guess you've become homeless now." "How's the homeless life?" Eric and Ashley, as usual, are not listening to me. My anger has long passed, and now I'm just speechless with disbelief. I sigh softly and resume my lunch. "Mom, why are you ignoring us?" "Oh right, we've cut ties, so I shouldn't call you Mom anymore." "How about homeless hag then?" "Yeah, homeless hag works." Eric and Ashley, taking advantage of my silence, continue to say whatever they want and laugh. I've finished my sandwich, so it's time to tell them the truth. "You've been talking about being homeless, but who are you talking about?" "You, homeless hag." "I'm not homeless. I live over there." "What?" I pointed to a building. Eric and Ashley slowly turn their gaze in the direction I'm pointing. The building I'm pointing to looks small from a distance, but it's a fine tower apartment. I thought living in a fancy tower condo was a bit much at first, but it's actually very convenient. They have barrier-free rooms for the elderly, and I live in one of those. Plus, with care staff on site 24/7, I feel safe knowing there's always someone there if I need help. What? Don't exaggerate. A homeless hag like you couldn't afford to live there, right? Well, actually, that place was left to me by Robert. What do you mean? Robert owned 5 tower condominiums. I started living in one of them. I'm the owner of the others, so I have rental income. I'm not struggling for living expenses. Oh boy. If you're going to lie, at least make it a believable one. It's true. I'll show you proof. I shouldn't really be showing these to you, but just a little peek. I took out documents related to the ownership and rental agreements of the tower condo from my bag and show them to Eric and Ashley, who are gaping in shock. I happen to have these documents with me as they are related to my errands today. They seemed doubtful, but after seeing these documents, they finally understood I was telling the truth. Where did Dad get that kind of money? You both seem to think Robert's company was in debts and got bought out, but it was actually a proper sale. He bought the tower condos as an investment with the money from selling his company. That's why there was only $60,000 in savings. I think he also wanted to leave something other than cash as an inheritance. Maybe he wanted to do something like work since he had to retire suddenly due to illness. Eric and Ashley were in a daze, realizing they only received $60,000 despite there being tower condos. But saying 5 buildings might be an exaggeration, turning into a lie as Eric mentioned. Building a tower condominium costs billions. 5 buildings would require hundreds of billions. No way could such money be obtained from selling a company, and not even large corporations can easily build 5 tower condos. So, I'm not the owner of an entire building but rather a part owner. When I said 5 buildings, I meant owning units in 5 different buildings. I said 5 buildings to simplify the explanation. Eric and Ashley misunderstood, thinking I owned entire buildings, but I don't feel like correcting them. Owning units in 5 buildings is still considerable. Each unit Robert bought is worth over $10 million. Owning 6 units means over $60 million. Robert invested almost all the money he earned from selling his company into these properties. Buying such a big property must have been enjoyable for him, the last big purchase of his life. If you have so many, couldn't you spare one for us, please? Yeah, managing all those by yourself must be tough. We can help. Once they knew I was the owner of the tower condos, Eric and Ashley became cautious in their choice of words, their speech stilted. Their about-face was quite remarkable. Of course, I couldn't trust such people. There's no need for estranged strangers to worry about me. But wait a minute. Even if we've severed ties, we're still family. That means when you're gone, the properties will automatically be mine, right? Right, that's it. No need to flatter ourselves to this old lady now. Eric and Ashley began to smirk again, like villains. But I had no intention of passing on Robert's precious legacy to such malevolent people. Unfortunately for you, I won't be giving them to you. You're planning to write a will that disowns me? That's useless. I know that a child's right to inherit can't be easily taken away. That's why I plan to dispose of the property in the end. What? I intend to transfer the property to Robert's acquaintances. What? One of the 6 units of the buildings is my residence, while the other 5 are occupied by Robert's acquaintances. They are all married and run their own businesses, so they're unlikely to move out until I join Robert. So, there's no worry about vacant units. These people, who have supported me and whom Robert was indebted to in his lifetime, will inherit the apartments when I'm gone. I think that's much better than handing them over to Eric and Ashley. Furthermore, the money that's slowly accumulating from the rental income, I plan to donate to Robert's company. It might not be a large amount, but since I've already given Eric and Ashley $60,000, I don't want to give them another penny. Well, when it's my time to leave, I'll make sure there's absolutely nothing left for you. What? Eric seemed to lose all his strength upon realizing I had no intention of leaving anything behind, collapsing to the ground. $60,000 is a significant amount, but not beyond Eric's earning capacity. If he regrets forsaking the properties for just $60,000, that's inevitable. It's not that pleasant to discuss plans after I pass away. But I'm satisfied with seeing Eric and Ashley's panicking faces. Well, I have errands to run, so I'll be going. Goodbye, estranged strangers. I left the park with a spring in my step. Eric, having missed out on the properties, was so frustrated that he bought a small condominium building. But, acting hastily without sufficient knowledge, he struggles with vacancies. And the venture continues to run at a loss. He's poured his savings into it and taken loans, so he can't keep this up indefinitely and will likely have to sell it. If that happens, he'll be left with tens of millions in debt. Worse, if he can't find a buyer. If so, he has to demolish the building to sell the land. The thought of the demolition costs added to his debt is frightening. Meanwhile, I live comfortably in my barrier-free tower apartment, surrounded by people who were indebted to Robert and who care for me. I don't feel the loneliness often associated with an elderly person living alone. Today looks sunny, so maybe I'll take a walk in the park again.